I was about 11 years old. I don't think I've ever felt that type of a fear. It's the hearing other people around you screaming and you having to go into that same room. You are forced down, your legs are spread open, and you're cut. You know from that moment on, you're no longer who you are.
We are not happy to marry a woman that has not been circumcised.
Female genital mutilation is a 5,000-year-old harmful cultural practice that removes part or all of the female genitalia. It is practiced in 28 countries in Africa, some countries in the Middle East, and Iraq. The goal and aim was to subjugate women, to control their sexuality, to guarantee their virginity until marriage. So now, 5,000 years later, it still occurs.
I think we've always thought that FGM is something that happens over there. We have girls that have had FGM performed living right here, and we look at the various diaspora communities, and as they grow, the number of girls at risk is growing.
Hello and welcome to GloTalks. Today's conversation is not an easy one. It's a very important one. We are joined by Ashhatu, author, advocate, founder of Transformation Talk CIC, and survivor of female genital mutilation and childhood sexual abuse. Female genital mutilation, or FGM, affects 230 million girls and women worldwide. Around 4 million girls are at risk every year. It is recognized globally as a human rights violation rooted in deep gender inequality. In the UK alone, an estimated 137,000 women and girls are living with its consequences. And despite being illegal, it still happens. Today, Ashhatu is not just sharing statistics, she's sharing lived experience. From surviving FGM at 6 years old to navigating foster care, homelessness, healing, and now building safe spaces for other survivors. Her story is one of transformation. Hello, Ashhatu.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for coming here today.
Thank you for having me.
How was your journey?
It was good. It was good. Not too bad at all.
I got a game for us.
Yep.
It's an easy one. One word, one truth.
Okay.
I'll say a word,
Yeah.
and then you have to say your truth behind that word.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Culture.
Society. I think culture impacts everyone in society. I've been impacted by culture negatively.
Yeah, we love culture.
Yeah, I guess.
Voice.
I think when you're a survivor, you struggle to find your voice because of like the trauma that you've gone through, and I think that's the journey that I've gone through to try and like find my voice. So voice is quite important to me.
Boundaries.
Wow, boundaries. Boundaries is something that I think I have now, but I didn't have before. It's been quite a journey.
Education.
Education. Education is quite important to me. I'm currently doing my master's degree in education and international development.
Okay, wow.
At UCL, yeah. So
UCL,
I love
yeah.
education. Yeah, I think it's helped me a lot.
Smart woman.
I hope so.
The last one. Strength.
Strength. Oh, I feel like strength is something that is built over time, you know. Sometimes you don't know how strong you are unless you're like placed in certain situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. You done
You're
well.
welcome.
Good answers as well.
Thank you.
Ashhatu. How do I pronounce your name?
Isatu.
Ashhatu.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm really happy to have you here because I feel like the conversation we're going to have today isn't a everyday type of conversation.
Yeah.
You know, it's not one that also everyone is aware of. And I feel like you're going to bring good light and also education to the viewers about your life experience surrounding FGM and other things that you've experienced.
Yeah.
Before we get into all of that, let's start at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I want to get to know you.
Yeah.
I want to get to know your character and personality.
Okay.
So let's take it back. Where was you born?
I was born in Guinea.
Okay.
I was born in Guinea, and from what I remember, my family moved from Guinea to Sierra Leone around the age of 6. So what I kind of understand when we were in Guinea was that we had 2 homes. So my grandma had a house, so my father's mum,
Yeah.
and then we had like another family house.
Yeah.
My mum used to work as like the housemaid for my grandma.
Really?
Yeah. That's what I've been told.
Yeah.
And obviously my dad ended up getting my mum pregnant. But the memory that I have from like a child to about maybe like, well, to about the age of 5 is that my mum used to like take me from like the family's house and she would bring me to like my grandma's house because obviously she was the housemaid.
Yeah.
So I'd like spend the weekend with her and stuff like that. She would do my hair.
Yeah.
We would go to fetch water and stuff like that, and then she'll take me back. So that's like the memory I have of her.
What's Guinea like as a country?
Guinea is bordered by Guinea-Bissau to the northwest, Senegal to the north, Mali to the northeast, Ivory Coast to the east, Sierra Leone to the southwest, and the Atlantic Ocean to the west.
Do you know what? I actually don't know much because I was quite young. I just know that when I was living in Guinea, like I used to speak French.
Yeah.
And I also used to speak a language called Soso.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't speak Soso anymore. Nor do I speak French.
Yeah.
I also used to speak Fula. So
Yeah.
because my family are Fulanese. So I used to speak Fula, but even the Fula now is a bit, I think the language that I now have is the Creole.
Yeah.
Which is the language we speak in Sierra Leone. So I can still speak the Creole, but I've kind of lost all the other languages.
It's very bilingual at the start.
Yeah. It's a shame though, because I remember like when we did move to Sierra Leone, I used to like always translate for people. Like I used to be they'll call the little kid that will come, and then I'll be able to like, say whatever someone is saying in French, explain it in Creole and stuff like that. It's such a shame that I've kind of lost those languages as I was kind of like growing up and stuff. Yeah, so around the age of like 5 or 6, I moved from Sierra Leone to Guinea. And what my family said to me was, oh, don't worry, like your mom would come and visit you and stuff like that. And I actually had a younger sister, different dad, who, when we did move to Sierra Leone, she actually did come to stay with us for like a little while. Yeah. Maybe like 2 weeks or something.
Who did you move with? Just you and your sister?
No, so when we moved to Sierra Leone, I moved with my father's side of the family. So like my auntie and stuff like that. Yeah, cousins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But my sister came from Guinea, stayed for like 2 weeks or so, and she went back. And after her, the next person that was meant to come was my mum, but she didn't come. So yeah, that's a bit about like where I was born and stuff. Yeah.
How come your mother never came? Did you ask her?
I don't know. Like, I guess like she was always like an outsider. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like my father's family were technically the ones looking after me. So yeah, I don't know why she never came, but I just know that I remember as a child, like they told me that don't worry, she would come and visit. And I guess maybe one of the ways that they tried to show that she would come to visit was the fact that my younger sister did actually come to Sierra Leone. But I just remember that my mum never came. And I guess as a child, like I didn't really think much of it. But I just know that I definitely remember being told that she would come because that was one of the things that was going to make the move a bit easier for me. And I know I haven't mentioned my dad, and the reason why is because even though like obviously I kind of grew up with my mom and stuff like that, I've never actually met my biological father.
Oh, haven't you?
No. So the story that my family tell me all the time is, oh, like when your mom was pregnant with you and she gave birth, your dad traveled to the States, like your grandma made him travel to America.
Yeah.
So I've never met him.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I was basically looked after. Do I speak to him? I've spoken to him over the years, like on WhatsApp and stuff, because I have like aunties and stuff like that who, because he's in America, they're also there. So maybe like every 5 years, he might pop up somewhere and say, I'm your dad. Yeah. Or maybe I might post something on social media on YouTube and I'll just have this random person commenting saying, hey, it's your dad, it's your dad. So that's kind of been the relationship we've had. So I don't really know him. He's not consistent. Yeah. Maybe like every 4 years or even longer is when I might be able to talk to him. And then whilst I do talk to him, let's say like maybe like for like 2-3 days, I get all excited thinking, oh my gosh, like, we're going to, and then all of a sudden like the connection just goes, like, as in I can't contact him. He doesn't have a phone. When I will call my aunties to say, oh, like, do you guys know what's going on with my dad? They don't know where he is.
Yeah. So you didn't really have a relationship with your mum either, though, did you?
Well, or would no, you say because when I moved to Sierra Leone around the age of 5 or 6, that was the last time I saw her.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
So now I'm obviously 26 years old, never met my dad, and don't know where my mum is. So I don't know anyone from my mother's family. Yeah. So the only people that I've known are the people from my father's family, so my auntie and my
Wow.
cousins that looked after me, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that couldn't have been easy for you trying to understand life
Yeah.
in Sierra Leone, coming from Guinea.
Mm-hmm.
Was life better in Sierra Leone?
Oh no, not at all. I think it was even the beginning of like my downfall in a, you know, to a certain extent, because I think once I moved, literally not too long after, was when I was then subjected to FGM. So what I remember, like what I was told, and to be fair, now every time I look back, I'm like, I do wonder if we traveled to Sierra Leone because of that, because it just seemed really soon after when we, you know, went from Guinea to Sierra Leone. But I don't know. But yeah, I was subjected to FGM basically around the age of like 6. And I just kind of remember like during that time, what it was that obviously we had loads of cousins, you know, the girls and stuff. And I remember just it being presented that we were going on a trip to a village called Kono.
Was that you and a bunch of other girls?
Of all my other cousins and stuff like that.
All
All
women.
the girls, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we were told was, oh, we're all going to go to see my grandma's village, you
Yeah.
know, my father's mother, like where she was born,
Yeah.
which is called Kono. So it was meant to be like this, like, big trip for all the girls, something special to learn more about her culture and her background. That was how it was presented. But I remember like days leading up to the trip, like I would hear like the boys talking and then mentioning BONDO. So in Sierra Leone, FGM is BONDO. So whilst I didn't know like what exactly it was, it's like I also knew that BONDO was something that was happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I didn't know as a child like exactly what it was, but I just knew it was something. It was
Yeah.
like something that, you know. So I remember like at one point like asking, you know, some of the older girls like, oh, is it true that when we go to Kono we're going to do BONDO? And obviously I remember like the reaction was just kind of like, oh, like be quiet, like just kind of like saying don't worry about it. Like they didn't really want me to, no one gave me an answer basically. But I kind of knew within myself, because you know when you're kids and then, you know, imagine like the boys talking and saying stuff, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but then it's like no one really gave me answers. So then yeah, I just remember the time of the trip came, you know, we went to Kono. I remember like basically being greeted with like, you know how it is the African with like the what's it called, the masquerades and stuff, the drums and you know that kind of thing. And it was quite scary for me because
so you went to
Kono. Yeah.
Kono,
yeah.
So you've gone to Kono to a house.
Yeah, like a village basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, a village.
And you've met other family members.
Not particularly family members, probably more so people like in the village, maybe people that I don't know, maybe my grandma knew or something. I don't know. To be honest, I wouldn't be able to tell the nitty gritty. I just know I just kind of know from like my perspective.
So upon arrival, you've been greeted.
With like this music, dancing, and you know all this stuff, and it was quite scary for me because it was my first time seeing like the masquerades, people wearing masks and all these things, dancing. And it was meant to be exciting, but for me I just kept screaming because I'm like, it was terrifying, you know.
Were the other women or girls that was with you around the same age as you?
I was the youngest.
Okay.
So I was like 6 or so, but the other ones were like, I think we had older ones, probably like the oldest was probably like 18, 19 or something like that, but I was the youngest girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that introduction was quite hard for me. Like I said, it was meant to be something fun, something exciting. It wasn't for me. Like I was crying. And I just kind of remember like after that aspect like stopped, I just remember you know, some of the women that we met telling us like, oh, make sure you go to sleep early today, you know, tomorrow we're gonna wake up very early, so make sure you sleep early. And then we're taken to like this compound, this house. And we were all placed in one room. So there's about 17 girls
in one room.
Yeah. And we were obviously told to sleep on the floor. Yeah. So we were all on the floor of really small rooms, not like very spacious, just a small space. Everyone just slept on the floor.
Where's your grandma?
I don't even, at this point I didn't even know, but she was there obviously. Like I think she was there, yeah. But all the girls were in the room. Cold floor, you know, this room didn't even have a window. It was just like a door.
Mhm.
And I just remember like being woken up to a woman, like one of the, I didn't know who she was. She kind of walked in the room and she obviously spoke to us and just told us that she's going to number us, that when you hear your number, you would come. So I remember like they went from the oldest to the youngest. So I was number 17. So what would happen is all of us are just literally on the floor waiting.
For your number.
Yeah, and then this lady, what would happen is she would walk in and she would say number 1.
Yeah.
And then whoever the girl is, because she doesn't know us, right? So whoever the girl that is number 1 is would get up and we'll follow her, and then she'll shut the door behind her. So that's how it was. Once the door is shut, they don't come back. So literally I sat there as the youngest girl, waited until my number was called. So I remember like being the last person in the room. And I think at this point, it's like obviously anticipated that, yeah, like this is BONDO that is happening. But once again, obviously you've heard about these things, but you don't know the reality of what it is. But I remember at that point being so anxious and standing, like literally standing with the little girl that I was, standing in front of the door, waiting for this woman to call my name. And I just remember like one of the things I was hoping for was, I was like, maybe one of the aunties from, Sierra Leone, Freetown would maybe just come and get me and say, oh no, come, let me take you back to, Freetown or something. So I was really wishing and hoping that someone would come. And of course, no one did. It was a lady that came. So obviously she saw me as the last person. She grabbed me. And I just began to scream, man. Like I was just screaming, trying to fight her, bite her, and everything like that. And unfortunately,
do you remember the, I mean, it's a difficult ask, but do you remember the process of it?
Yeah. So when she kind of grabbed me and I was like kicking, screaming and stuff, obviously the more you're aggressive with them, because I realized that not all the girls were aggressive, because BONDO is meant to be something that shows you're a strong woman. It's something that makes you a woman. So they don't encourage this whole thing of crying or showing emotion, because it's like you're a strong girl, you go through this. So I remember when I was kind of like screaming, crying, because in my head I thought that if I cried, then maybe they might say, okay, let's leave her, like she's young, let's not do it to her. But no, the more you cry, the more aggressive like
they
are
with you.
So the lady was quite aggressive with me. So I kind of remember then, forcefully being taken to the back of like this compound. Nothing special. There's greenery there, concrete floor. There's about maybe 3-4 women there, big women. You know how African aunties can be. And like because I was fighting, they were aggressive. So I just at that moment, like all of them just kind of pinned me down. So literally I was then pinned down on the floor, and I had like one of the older women like pressing her weight on my right leg,
so you don't
and
move.
then another person on my left leg, and then one of the other women's basically had my arms like this, bounded over my head, because obviously so I couldn't move, right? And literally, obviously, I remember being in that position and just looking up at the sky with like tears in my eye, because at that point, like I had thought, if I cry, I've always thought as a child that if you cry, it means you're in distress. And but regardless of my tears, like my tears didn't matter. So I just remember being pinned down, my legs wide open, my arms bounded together over my head, and kind of laying down, looking up at the sky. And I think that was the moment I told myself that like your tears don't matter. And then next thing I just felt this blade literally just cut my clit and my labia minora. So you can imagine like the shock in my body where there's no anesthetic. Someone's literally grabbing the blade and just cuts your genitalia just like that.
Wow.
So the pain was, it was quite a shock to my body. But I remember looking up at the sky, and one of the thoughts that I had was the fact that my tears didn't matter, and that life was going to be very hard for me. And it's sad because it's like, as a child, it's like, why would you think that? But I remember vividly kind of looking at that scenery of me looking up at the sky with tears in my eye, because I'm like, you've just been cut. Like you've cried, and they still cut you. And after that, what happened is one of the women then gets this warm herb and basically squeezes the herb on my vulva.
Wow.
Yeah, because this is meant to be like the thing that heals you or brings
Stop the bleeding or something.
Yeah, something along, all these traditional stuff. And after that, they picked me up, and I remember looking down on the floor and seeing a lot of blood. And I was thinking like, is that all my blood, or is that all the other girls' blood? Because more time they probably use like the same blade or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I remember then kind of like giving like something to just put around myself to wear, obviously nothing on the top.
Yeah.
And then I was then taken into the other room, which is where all the other girls that had been cut were. So in that room, all the girls are on the floor. Their legs are like banded together, close together. And when I entered that room, the lady told me,
tied together or
not necessarily tied, but you're told to sit like this.
Yeah.
You have to sit with your leg together. And I remember the lady telling me that I wasn't allowed to use the toilet, that you're not allowed to pee. Like none of us were allowed to pee. But obviously me being me again, like being the youngest,
you went to pee.
I had to. Like the time came where I'm like, hey, like I need to go and use the toilet. And I didn't really understand why they didn't want me to use the toilet. But yeah, finally the lady was like, cool, like she's gonna take me out, you know, walked me outside to basically go and pee. And I just remember like peeing and literally like my vulva, like vagina, everything felt like Scotch bonnets, you know, like when maybe I always say this whenever I do like talks and stuff, I'm like, it felt like someone had taken the world's hottest like chili sauces, mixed it with Scotch bonnets, rubbed it on my vagina and my vulva, like, and so when I was peeing, because obviously your pee is quite acidic as well, so you can imagine I'd just been cut, and then the tissues are trying to like heal at the same time. That's when I realized why they didn't want me to use the toilet. So I think that pain has stayed with me forever, and it's actually caused me to have a fear of childbirth and stuff like that. So yeah, that was kind of like the FGM experience for that bit. And then after that happened,
is that normal, like
what,
like
FGM
in Sierra Leone or in Guinea?
Yeah, it's normal. It's a practice. It's something that it's not just Sierra Leone or Guinea, like you said earlier. It's a global practice. Like you said, if there's 230 million girls that are being subjected to this, it's done globally. One of the countries that has the highest rate of FGM is Somalia, with like a 98% kind of thing. And I think it's obviously we have the United Nations that are working towards the elimination of FGM or harmful cultural practices, according to like Sustainable Development Goals 5.3, which is the FGM and then child marriage as well. And obviously the goal was for 2030 for harmful practices like FGM to be eliminated.
Abolished, yeah.
But it's not working, and it's been kind of like estimated that by the rate in which this elimination campaign and, you know, this work is being done, if it's the same rate, like the same pace that is going, it's estimated that between now to 2030, maybe another 227 million girls are going to be subjected to FGM.
What is the reason for FGM? Is it because earlier on you said that you're a strong woman, but I don't understand how that makes you strong.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. So, I mean, we can never really understand, but so I studied social anthropology for my undergrad, which is the study of people and cultures. Yeah. And I had the opportunity to study about FGM. Yeah. So one of the kind of like majority discourse or hegemonic discourse that is around FGM globally, which means that, yes, different cultures have different names to FGM and might have different sentiments, but there are some key things that always come up, right? Which is that FGM is a rite of passage. This means that FGM is something that girls are supposed to go through that aids them into the next season of life, that maybe might say that, I don't know, maybe they're ready for marriage or, you know, that kind of thing. So it's a rite of passage. FGM keeps women clean. So it's this idea that if you don't have a clit and all this stuff, like it just keeps you clean, you know. Like so
it's kind of like a man who has had the
maybe, but I mean sometimes people tend to not compare the two.
Circumcised,
people tend to not compare the two. But yeah, so there's this, the idea is it keeps women clean, and then another thing is that it stops women from being promiscuous. So I don't even know how that links, but it's this idea that maybe if your clit is cut, you wouldn't want to like be promiscuous for men to see you're down there. Like it's only your husband who would have sex with you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So these are some of like the key ideas. You know, FGM is a rite of passage. FGM is what makes you a woman. FGM is, you know, keeps you clean, stops you from being promiscuous. So and that is why it's performed on young girls. And so,
ça va. Ça va. Quand tu vas t'utiliser apporter quoi? Rien de spécial. Seulement mon frère. Je suis venu chercher ma petite nièce pour l'envoyer avec moi au village pour son initiation.
Ma femme et moi avions décidé que notre fille ne soit pas excisée.
Quoi? Quelle idée?
So yeah, after I was cut, obviously my memory is not the best, but I'm not sure whether this was like the same day or the next day. But I just remember that we then had to go into the second part of the ceremony, which is the part of the BONDO bush experience, like
What's
BONDO
that?
bush. So the BONDO bush is like this bush that they take you to. So I remember.
Have you ever heard of the SANDE Secret Society? They are a women's group in Sierra Leone and Liberia that initiates teenage girls into womanhood. The girls will spend months and up to a year living in the bush while learning the customs and traditions of their people. Everything that happens in the bush is a secret, and it is enforced with death for those that divulge. The group has been criticized for practices of female genital mutilation, and this is an extremely...
Like kind of being blindfolded and you have like white powder all over your body.
Yeah.
And then you don't know where they're taking you.
Yeah.
But I just remember kind of like we get to this kind of like greenery, bushy area, like a forest or something of that sort. There's a river there. They, you know, of course they remove your blindfold. We're all sitting down in circles. And this woman, you know, the Soways, that's the name of the people that do the cutting.
The Soways.
Soways, yeah. So the Soways were kind of teaching you about, you know, BONDO, because in Sierra Leone we call it the secret society.
Okay.
Right? So they're teaching about how this distinguishes you from other girls, other people. And so one of the main messages that you're taught within that BONDO bush is that anything that happens in this BONDO experience, especially in the BONDO bush, stays in the BONDO bush. You're not allowed to talk about it. So funnily enough, like I literally don't have a lot of memory about what took place in the BONDO bush.
Because you wasn't allowed to talk about it.
Exactly. So I think maybe more time stuff happened there, but obviously if you're not allowed to talk about it, you leave it there.
Yeah, cool.
But I just remember that obviously we sang songs. They taught us some things in their language, the local dialect. And then I just remember that one of the key aspects was that, you know, two of the ladies were standing like close to a river, and then one of them, you know, would call you. They took water from the river, and you would kind of like repeat after them to basically pledge your allegiance to the BONDO society, right?
So you've
now
joined this basically.
drink the water.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I remember went through that. And then like they blindfold you again, take you, we're just walking in a line, don't know where you're going. Went back to like this compound, and then now it's like we have this like big party celebration. Everyone's coming to you saying you're such a big girl now. Everyone gets to wear like some nice tailor-made dresses. There's food as well, you know, there's this, it's like a whole big thing. And I just remember then kind of going back to Freetown. But I'm not gonna lie, my BONDO experience, I feel like it was more traumatizing than I'm saying, because there was a lot of things that was going on that I just didn't have any idea about. So I genuinely think that my memory has like, I've just suppressed this stuff. So I can't remember like, but I know the whole experience was just it was just bizarre. Like
the older woman that was there, that also got it done to them.
The older girls,
the older girls. Did they like? Did you look at them? I think. What are they thinking? Were they calm? Were they crying?
That's the thing. It's almost like, what can you do? Like, we're all looking at it like it's all the same. Do you know what I mean? Like, but obviously when you're the oldest or when you're older, the expectation is that you don't cry, you don't this. Hence why I said that it seemed like I was probably one of the people that actually did try to fight and did try to cry. Hence why they were like more aggressive with me, because the whole thing is that you get praised for being able to endure pain. Yeah.
As an adult now, and an adult who's gone through FGM, from a child, what comes to your mind when you think of FGM?
Well, a lot of things come to my mind, but what I will say is that as an adult now, I can definitely say that FGM has affected me. It's affected my self-esteem. It's affected my relationship with men. It's affected my ideas around sex, my body, all of these things. And, you know, I think it was probably, I know we're going to touch on this later, but it was only until when I probably turned like 21, 22, when I finished university, that was when I finally was like, okay, like I'm a bit of a mess. Like, let me, you know, receive help. Because obviously for me, like I said, around the age of 6 when I was cut and I cried and no one listened to me, one of the ideas I'd always told myself was that my tears didn't matter, you know. And I don't want to skip too much, but obviously since then, I was never really a girl that cried. Which I don't know how, but literally, so I think it was only when I got to like 22, when I finished uni, I finally had like a mental breakdown, because it's like I was grieving everything, you know, my trauma, everything, and I knew that I needed help.
Growing up, having experienced
Mhm.
FGM, how would you say it physically and psychologically affected you?
So physically, like sometimes you might have like pain and stuff.
Mm.
But more time, I think for the most part, you don't. But it's just that obviously, if something has been cut from your genitalia, your organs, like it something is missing. Do you know
Yeah,
what I
of
mean?
course.
So even in the area of sex, it does have an impact. So women that have gone through FGM, like they can still kind of like, be aroused or feel pleasure when it comes to sex and stuff.
Yeah.
But it may not necessarily, of course, be like how it was meant to be.
Yeah.
And then in terms of psychologically, yeah, I think it's really impacted me negatively. Like I remember sometimes, like there was one time at uni for my undergrad, I was just walking and I just started having like some kind of like panic attack
Mhm.
because all of a sudden I started thinking that I was in that room and I was about to get cut.
Mhm.
So yeah, the flashbacks do come, the trauma comes, and obviously for me, like I'm a religious person, like I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
I also believe that FGM is spiritual
Mm.
because I believe that what took place in the bush was a form of initiation.
Yeah.
And so even sometimes in my dreams, like I have these type of nightmares or
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
So obviously that's also something you break through prayer. But a lot of people don't really talk about the spiritual aspect of this stuff because I guess you speak about it if you believe
Mhm.
in that dogma, but I believe in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of like the BONDO experience for me.
Statistics show that 1 in 4 FGM cases today are carried out by health professionals, something known as medicalization. How does that make you feel knowing it's still being legitimized in some places?
I mean, it's disappointing, but I'm not surprised,
Mm.
right? Because another thing that's important to touch on is that everyone's FGM experience is different.
Mm.
So just because I went through the bush and went through the proper like traditional kind of way that they do it, does not necessarily mean that's other people's experience. Like I know someone who, her experience was done in the hospital
Yeah.
where her parents took her there.
Mm.
She didn't even realize she was caught
Mm.
until when she was much older.
Wow.
That's when she realized, obviously, when she's in relationships and stuff.
Mm.
So the medicalization of FGM is a thing.
Mm.
And there are people, like you said, who argue that that's the safest way.
Mm.
The reason why I'm not surprised is because for me, it's like, it's still the beliefs that people hold towards this practice
Mm.
that make it continue.
Mhm.
Because there's the medicalization of FGM,
Yeah.
but then there's also new things like the transnational FGM,
Yeah.
which is the FGM that takes place across borders,
Yeah.
right? Where people would be in certain countries, let's
Mhm.
say, for example, the United Kingdom,
Yeah.
they know that FGM is illegal in the UK.
Yeah.
If you do that to anybody, you will get criminalized, right?
Yeah.
Even though it may still happen, who knows?
Yeah.
But what people would do is because they believe so much in what FGM means to their culture, to their family,
Mhm.
to whoever they are, they would then do the transnational / the border across border FGM,
Yeah.
which is that they would take their kids back home and cut
Abroad.
their kids there.
Wow.
So all this stuff is just loopholes
Mhm.
that people put in place
Mhm.
to keep it going. Like for example, I know recently the case of the Gambia. I
Mhm.
was reading something on Instagram or something. I think they had put an anti-FGM ban,
Yeah.
and then some people are campaigning against the anti-FGM ban
Yeah.
because they're saying that, oh, this goes against our religious and our cultural freedom, right? And then they're also saying that, oh, we don't practice FGM, we practice female circumcision.
Mm.
So it's like there's this thing of the semantics that people put, because now FGM has now been made to be somewhat political.
Yeah.
Because how can you be arguing that, oh, we don't practice FGM, we practice female circumcision? Because what they're trying to say is you saying that, we are practicing mutilation, that comes from this ethnocentric ideologies, right?
Yeah.
And this colonial thought
Yeah.
of, the white man thinking that they can always talk bad about the Africans' culture.
Yeah.
And so that's why sometimes people tend to use the word female genital cutting instead, because some people believe that saying mutilation is it's not the right term to use,
Yeah.
because it goes against the culture of the people. In my case, I speak for the African people that practice this, but the point still stands.
Yeah,
To me,
yeah.
I'm like, this is all semantics. That I'm like, when I came across that case for the Gambia, I'm like, you're arguing that it goes against your religious freedom and your cultural freedom. So obviously, you know that if people are doing that, of course they're gonna find different ways
Yeah.
of
Loopholes.
suggesting that, or maybe
Yeah.
if we just medicalize it, it would be better.
Because my understanding
You know?
of the clitoris is something that gives women pleasure.
Nerve, yeah.
You know, it's a nerve.
Yeah.
Once stimulated, you
Yeah.
know, it helps women have sex and whatnot. So I don't understand how the clitoris in the form
That it is.
it is then changed into no, it's a bad thing to have it.
But this
We
is
need
the
to get
thing,
rid of
though.
it.
When we look at that, it also is about this conversation around the control of women's bodies.
Yeah.
To me, I know that FGM is just a form of control against women.
Yeah.
It's just one of the ways that the patriarchal systems and the structures that we have in place have just been put in place to continue to subjugate women to harm.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see that. We all know there's no medical benefit of it. It is proven there's no medical benefit. There's 4 types of FGM.
Yeah.
Type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. I was subjected to type 2, which was like my clit and my labia minora was cut.
Yeah.
You know, other people was type 3, which sometimes they even sew. All they have is just a little pee hole.
Wow.
The little hole, yeah. Like even when they have periods and stuff,
it
can be quite painful.
Like they sew
like
it.
that.
They sew the
like
skin to skin.
You sew, like
Yeah.
So it's just, to me, it's like, it's just about control. That's just what it is. I just feel like the world we live in, I don't know, they just have something against women, and it's just unfortunate because it's just the structures that have been put in place.
Yeah.
It's just about control, because it's like you're trying to control the woman's sexuality. But it's like one of the things that's really pained me as I grew up, especially around the age of 21, when I then began to realize the impact that FGM had on me, is why did you cut my clit when I was young, and why do I not get a say in my body? Because I was struggling in my relationships. Obviously, hey, I'm a Christian, no sex outside of marriage.
Yeah.
But the point still stands. In my relationships, every time it came to that area of sex, I'm very much like, maybe
no
not.
thanks.
Because do you know how shameful it is as a girl? Imagine you're dating someone and then it's like they want to touch your leg and you're like, oh, don't do that. And it's like, you have to then, if you're comfortable and you know this is someone that you kind of then have to have that awkward conversation. So it's like the trauma. You just to say, hey, like I was subjected to this thing, and I think it's shameful anyway. But obviously, I've learned over the years like to not be ashamed of that. I've learned to kind of, like I said, when I was in that place of why would you take away something from me and not give me the choice?
Exactly, and not give you the choice, but it's like before you're even allowed to even have sex
have an agency,
or understand what that is. Like, it's crazy, man.
It is.
I think African cultures is still very stuck behind in terms of we're just never gonna we're never gonna grow as a country if we
continent. It's not just Africans. So that's the thing. You know, that's another thing. It's practiced everywhere. Even white girls go through it. You know. White girls go through it. Asians go through it. It's like a global thing. But you know what? From a social anthropological perspective, as someone who is interested in like beliefs, culture, and rituals and all these things, traditions, I can just tell you that I understand why it's global, right? Because what it is that things such as beliefs, traditions, and rituals, they are things that have been done for generations. So every single society is practicing something that gives them a form of like ontological security, right? And what ontological security is just basically like something that the things that they believe, it keeps them safe, right? So what it is that everyone has been brought up into believe, wherever you are in the world globally, you've been brought up to believe that, you know, the things that your parents teach you is good. The things that your grandparents did is good. And so there's an element of legacy passing down these things. And so I think when I've been looking, obviously I told you I'm doing my master's at the moment. So some of the readings that I look at when I look at the case of FGM, I'm like, one of the reasons why it's still going on is because people are secure in what FGM stands and what it means in their society. Because think about it this way. Imagine you've always, I don't know, had the tradition of, I don't know, Christmas, everyone comes over your house and all the family gathers together. And all of a sudden you have these bunch of people that are like, oh my gosh, we can't believe you practiced that on Christmas. How can you be bringing people over? You're going to be defensive. Because you're going to say, hold on, first of all, I've done this all these years.
Definitely.
This is what's helped me become who I am. My sense of self, my sense of identity. It's kept me stable.
Yeah.
Secondly, my mom did this, my dad did this, my grandma did this.
It's
so how
normalized.
dare you? So this is why we're seeing the pushback
Yeah.
when it comes to the elimination of FGM.
Yeah.
Because people believe that it's who they are.
Yeah.
Some people say that it's their religion.
Yeah.
Or even though the argument for most people is that
What
it's
religion
not a
would that
religious
fall
thing.
under?
It's mostly Islam. That's what people say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the majority of the countries that practice FGM, they have Islamic roots.
Okay.
But the truth is, when you look at certain readings from what I've seen, it's not necessarily maybe like a Muslim thing, because even within the Islamic, scholars, for example, in the case of Somalia that I was looking at, when they formed like a religious council,
Yeah.
they were trying to kind of like look at the misconceptions that people could have from maybe like the hadiths that could be causing them to think or believe that, FGM is okay.
It's okay.
So
It's
there's
all-
this idea that, there's a Sunni type of FGM, which is the one that is appropriate or whatnot. Either way, it's like, this is my stance though, which some people might be offended by it. But for me, it's like, we can't deny the fact that it does have religious roots.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm like, if it's just culture, different countries have different cultures.
Yeah.
So there must be something.
That's linked.
And we know that religion is one of the greatest things that it doesn't matter where you're from, even if you're not practicing the Abrahamic religions, everyone's practicing something.
100.
So I believe that, but I know that some people that are advocates and stuff, they don't believe that. And I also, stand corrected that it may not necessarily be a religious thing, but my perception is it must be something.
Yeah.
It could either be the culture, it could be the religion, or it could be the way of life. Whatever it is, that's why it keeps going on.
Yeah.
That even though others are campaigning against it, for certain countries to still have the confidence to say, no, this goes against our religious and cultural rights. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It means that there's something that is pushing for this thing to be ongoing, So low-key, like, I do believe in the criminalization of people that do perform FGM, but I know that it's not going to work all the time.
Yeah.
Because once again, going back to the Christmas example that I gave you, imagine then me coming in and saying, well, really, because you don't want to change this Christmas tradition, we're going to lock you up. People are going to fight. There's going to be resistance.
And these things happen
Yeah.
behind closed doors.
Thank you.
It's not.
Yeah, so when you begin to bring in the criminalization of FGM,
Yeah.
people are going to start doing it underneath the covers.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So to me, I'm like, this seems a little bit impossible, but at the same time, I don't think it's impossible. I just think that we are up against something that is deeply ingrained. Ideas, I think, in dogmatic ways of thinking that it's just deeply ingrained that people don't want to let go of because of what it means to them. So, for example, people that don't practice FGM within cultures where FGM is, it's the majority.
Yeah.
You're gonna get shamed. Your parents are gonna get shamed.
Yeah.
Because your parents are like, oh, your daughter is. Look at that rubbish girl.
Yeah.
Useless girl. She hasn't been cut.
Yeah.
They're gonna insult you. So sometimes parents do this because they also want their daughters to not be insulted within their cultures, within their society.
Yeah.
They want to make sure that you're a woman enough so that a man will come and marry you. Yeah.
If someone watching right now who's experiencing this
Yeah.
or is at risk of
Yeah.
going through it,
Yeah.
what would you say to them?
I guess it depends on the age, but definitely if you're in school, tell your safeguard leader in school, speak to your teacher, speak to a head teacher. If you're looked after, speak to a social worker. Make sure, even if it's your GP, even outside of school, speak to your GP, tell a medical professional, speak to somebody who has the experience and expertise that is able to signpost you and guide you. If your parents want to do it to you secretly and they threaten you that, if you go and say something, something's going to happen to them, good. Make sure you say something.
I like that. That was a powerful message.
No, yeah, it's really important that we break the culture of silence.
Yeah.
Because that's what causes parents to continue causing harm and trauma to the children. Even though I believe that no parent wants to do harm to their kids. But what it is that because they instill fear in you and then make you feel like you owe the family protection for the secret things they do to you, that's why the parents keep having this confidence to want to do these things. But one thing about me is that based on my experiences, I've learned to speak up. And I know it's not going to, like, my family are not happy about some of the things I share.
Yeah.
because it's shameful.
Yeah, of course.
But the truth is, it doesn't take away the fact that it happened.
Yeah.
Because it did.
Exactly. And you deserve to tell your truth.
I deserve to take, but this is the thing. A lot of people who are survivors, a lot of kids, they face so much backlash from their own people, from their own community. How can you sell us out? How can you do this? And it's really sad.
Yeah.
It's really sad, you know. And you know, especially as Africans, we have this concept of like Ubuntu. You know, that we are all together. We are all a community.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can go too far. Because when do we put a stop to say, hold on, yes, we're a community.
Yeah.
Yes, we value our African culture. Yes, we value, you know, looking after our neighbors. But when do we say, but what we're doing to these girls is wrong?
Yeah.
Where's the stop? Who puts the stop in place, you know? Yeah.
So growing up as a little girl, you was the youngest when FGM happened to you.
Yeah.
Is there an age limit for
FGM?
Yeah.
No, but I would say that on average it does happen before the age of like maybe 9 or 10.
Really?
Definitely around 6, 7 or so. But then there's other cultures that people say sometimes they'll cut you once, and then when you're like 18 they'll cut you again.
Really?
Yeah. Or they do some things where they'll even be pulling your clit, and then it's like a continual process. It's
a lot.
There's a lot of things, that people do.
So being exposed to that kind of stuff, you know, you must have really been exposed to other things.
Yeah.
I mean, if the woman was okay for that to happen to you, what was the men like?
Oh yeah, well, that's the thing though. When these things are done, it's the women who help to uphold the, you know, kind of like subordination of women, you know, or the patriarchal structure. So you will never see a man in sight in a BONDO or FGM kind of thing. It's always the older women that are doing it. So would you say
the women are the driving factors of this?
Yeah, like maybe the men might sponsor it in terms of money.
I was thinking
but it's the grandmothers who are doing it to the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the men, you don't even know if the men are involved.
So as you got a bit older, 10, 11, 12, and you was getting used to your body changing, what kind of changes did you see?
Well, I think for me, when it comes to the whole idea of my body, I haven't really had a great experience because when I was subjected to the FGM at the age of 6, around the age of maybe 8 or 9, I was then subjected to sexual abuse, childhood sexual abuse. So I was sexually abused by my cousins. Because remember that I was looked after by my auntie.
Yeah.
And I don't have my mom, I don't have my dad, I don't know anyone from my siblings, whatever. But my auntie basically took me as her own child type of thing. So my cousins, who are my auntie's kids, I call them my siblings.
Yeah.
So I was sexually abused by one of them. And then I was then sexually abused by some other cousins. So in the home, how it was is that obviously the house that we're staying at, you know, my auntie was doing well in terms of providing everything that I needed and stuff like that. But it was more so like, she wasn't really somebody that was very like present in terms of, you know, when you have like that maternal, you know, kind of thing. My aunt was someone that she'll look after you, make sure the money's on the table, if you need school fees, you need food, whatever, but not really talking to her like that. So what would happen is, my cousin who sexually abused me so when I was younger, I used to stay in a room with my cousin who's a girl. She's older. Yeah. But what happened was she traveled. Literally, I kid you not, it's like the moment she traveled that same week, because we used to stay in the same room.
And this is all in Sierra Leone?
All in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
The moment that my cousin, who's the girl, traveled, the older cousin of mine, who is a male, started coming into my room and sexually abusing me.
How old is older?
So let's say right now I'm 26.
Yeah.
He should probably be going towards his late 40s. I mean, late 30s, going into his 40s now. Yeah. So he's very close to 40.
Yeah.
So it was quite a huge age gap.
Do you remember the first day?
I don't necessarily remember the first day or the first time, but what I do remember is I would be sleeping and I'd feel someone like on top of me and I'd feel what felt like water on my leg.
Yeah.
And it's like, I would have an idea that it's him, but it's like, I don't want to say nothing because, do you know what I mean? Because it's like at this point, this is the person that looks after me. Because remember, my auntie is not really, you know, so these are people that, you know, take me to school and stuff like that. So that went on for a little while. I can't really count the number of times, but I know certainly it happened, you know, and I know that it wasn't just with him. I remember I had another situation where I was sleeping again in the room. One of my other cousins came and did the same thing. And obviously as the child that I was scared to talk to anyone about it because I felt like I was going to get in trouble. So I never spoke to anyone. But I remember like sometimes I would sit down in the corner And I'll just be there crying, and I'll just be saying, hoping and telling myself, oh, I wish my mom would come.
Yeah, of course.
So that I would speak to her, because the last time I ever felt safe in my life was when I was with my mum, when she used to do my hair. So in my head, when I was being sexually abused, I had always wished that my mother would come and take me like she used to take when I was younger, so that I can tell her everything that's been happening in the house. Obviously, that never happened. So yeah, like I went through the sexual abuse. And
so these men, that your cousins, your older cousins that lived in the house with you, they'll sexually assault you.
Yeah.
In the morning, when you wake up.
Yeah.
What, they just walk past you?
Yeah. No, like if they need to drop me to school, they would. If they needed to make breakfast, they would.
And there's no conversation about their
Nothing,
behavior?
like nothing.
At all?
At all, nothing.
That
Literally
is crazy.
nothing was ever, nothing.
Yeah.
I swear, like it was crazy. I think it was so that happened. And obviously the FGM, I went to school normally, going through all these things at home, but never really having anyone to talk to about it. I think around the age of 10 or 11 was when I then came to the UK. So I think there's a lot of other stuff going on in my family that I probably don't know much about at that time. But I just know my auntie then brought me to the UK. When she brought me here, you know, I was staying with, like, you know, when we say aunties, but it's not really, you know, Africans. So, I was staying with one like Nigerian auntie for a little while. And, you know, they enrolled me into primary school, year 6. And then I went on to secondary school, year 7, year 8, you know, going to school.
Let's break that down a bit. So after enduring FGM,
yeah,
you are living with your cousins in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Cousins who are sexually abusing you.
Yeah.
Who made the decision for you to come to England?
My auntie.
The same auntie that lived at the house.
Yeah.
So she's made this decision for you to come to England to live with another
Yeah,
auntie.
but obviously I didn't know that I was coming to like live with somewhere else. She just said we're gonna go there. Yeah.
So she came with you?
Yeah, she brought me. Yeah, she brought me here.
Okay.
Yeah, she brought me here, and then I obviously stayed with this other auntie. But my aunt, the one who brought me, she didn't stay for long. Like I think when she brought me, probably a few weeks or maybe even less than that. They were like, "Oh, she's gonna go, but she's gonna come back."
And throughout all this time, you haven't heard from your mum and you haven't heard from your dad?
No.
Okay.
No. So I think stayed with this other auntie. It was all right, I guess. Like going to school, nothing special. And then I think it was now probably like in year 8 that I saw one of my cousins who is from Sierra Leone here in the UK.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to stay with him because this auntie, I don't know this auntie. I want to stay with someone that I know. So I ended up staying with this cousin of mine. And it was obviously, he's a guy, and he was staying in like a 1-bedroom flat.
Yeah.
And I remember he lived quite far from my school.
Yeah.
So he lived like, let's say, Elephant and Castle.
Yeah.
My school was like Catford area.
Yeah.
So I used to be quite late to school, whatever. But all of a sudden, I started coming late to school a lot. One day, my deputy head of year called me in the office, and she was like, Isatu, like, we know you always get in trouble, because I used to get in fights and stuff in school.
Yeah.
But she was like, but all of a sudden, like, you've been late like every other week. What's going on? And I just told her that, like, I'm staying with my cousin, you know, he lives in Elephant and Castle. And she's like, what's the house like? And I'm like, he has his own bedroom, but there's another guy. Like, it was like they had 2 rooms basically in the place. And I'm like, and she's like, so you sleep on the same bed? I'm like, yeah, I sleep on the same bed with my cousin. Obviously, I was telling her the truth of what was going on at home.
Not knowing.
I didn't know that this was a safeguarding concern. Yeah. Right? So I just remember, like, that was on a Monday. On a Wednesday, I'm in my lesson. Someone comes to get me and they're like, oh, you know when they give you the note. Gave me a note, walked into this office, room, whatever. I'm seeing like bare people, like maybe like 5 to 6, deputy head of year, this, new people I don't know. Sat me down. They asked me questions about my living situations. I told them the truth again. I stay with my cousin. Sometimes he gives me £2 for lunch. Sometimes he doesn't, because obviously he's a man. This guy's going to work. Literally, I was basically neglected. Like, if he gives me £2, that's for like my travel and for my lunch. Do you know what I mean? So I used to bump train quite a bit. Do you get it? So obviously when they're like asking me, I'm telling them everything. Once again, I didn't even know what social worker was, but in that meeting, there was a lady called Maisie. I'll never forget her name. And she just goes, oh, hi, my name's Maisie and I'm a social worker. I didn't know what social worker was. I was just smiling because I've always smiled my way through. Left the meeting. On Friday, I was home by myself. House is messy. Obviously, sometimes it's like, if there's no food at home, because my cousin will come home late. So if there's no food at home, if I haven't had chicken and chips, I might be eating like cereal for dinner. So I remember like getting a knock on the door, and I looked, and it's a social worker. You know, normally they tell you not to open the door.
Yeah.
So obviously, because I've seen her before from school, and she was with someone else, I opened the door, and she's like, "Oh, hi, Isatu, my name's Maisie. We're here to do something called an unexpected visit." So they basically enter the house, look at the state of the house, and she's like, "Oh," she called my cousin. Don't know what she said to him, and she just basically said, "Pack your stuff. We're taking you to live somewhere else."
Wow.
So in that moment, all my clean clothes, dirty clothes, everything, I put in a bin bag. They put me in a cab, took me to live somewhere else, and that was how I was brought into foster care.
Your cousin that you was living with, did he do anything to you?
You know what's so funny? He didn't do anything to me, but one thing I never share with people is that that's the same cousin that abused me when I was in Sierra Leone.
No way.
Yeah, but I never shared that with people because I've always tried to like protect, you know. Yeah. But I don't think he did anything to me. I wouldn't know, to be honest, because I used to just sleep through the night, so I wouldn't know. But I could definitely say I don't think he did anything to me in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because you probably thought there's laws around here.
Maybe, because I do think back and I'm like, I do wonder, like, do you know
why
what
didn't
I mean?
you? Not why didn't you,
but like I do wonder if he did. But this is the thing, I used to just sleep. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it's even the way I used to sleep. At this point, who knows? Yeah, I used to just sleep through the night. Yeah.
And the fact that you decided to, because you was at your aunties, and then you saw him and you was like, I want to live with him.
Yeah, because you want to be. It's like, this is the thing. As a child, you'd rather be home to somebody you know than to fill this place. Because my whole life, I've never had a family.
Yeah.
I've never had. Do you know what I mean? Like, so for me, it's like I would have rather stayed, even though this person had done this to me, but this is still my older brother.
Yeah.
This is still the person who used to take me to school.
Yeah.
This is still, do you know what I mean? And that's the complex, what's the word? That's like the complex phenomenon around sexual abuse.
Yeah.
Where the same person that's abusing you, that is harmful to you, broken your boundaries.
Yeah.
I guess maybe it's an element of the Stockholm syndrome, whatever they call it.
100.
But it's like, it's such a messed up thing. Because for me, one of the things that it did for me is that it kind of made me think that maybe that's normal. Maybe like if someone who's like an older brother or older cousin is doing this to me, maybe that's just what it is.
That's just how life is.
And also you have no choice because you're a child,
Yeah.
and you're depending on the same people that were abusing me as a child.
To look after
Or the
you.
same people I was depending on to go and bathe me when I need to be bathed, or go and make my breakfast, or take me to school. If I needed someone to drop me to school. So I had no choice but to rely on. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You've been through a lot.
Yeah.
And it's actually, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like, it's eye-opening for me to hear what you've been through, especially about FGM, because I don't know much about it.
Yeah.
But then the sexual abuse by your own family members, to then later on move to England and live with the same guy to look after you, I think that's just wild.
Yeah.
You know, you're a strong woman.
Thank you.
Very strong woman.
Thank you.
So social services has come through.
Yes, they have. They've taken me.
They've taken you
to a house. Pulled up to this big house, enter, and I meet this Ghanaian woman. She introduces herself. We sit down. We have a meeting. They tell her a bit about my background. They have a file. She takes me upstairs, and she's like, "Oh, she has other foster kids and stuff." This is my room.
Yeah.
And that was how I was introduced to foster care. So, being in foster care was also quite hard for me, because I had gone from being a child who was basically neglected. Yeah, I never really had anyone who was really maybe checking for me like that.
Supportive.
Especially in the UK.
Yeah.
Because my cousin, like, that guy will go to work in the morning, come home late. Do you know what I mean? If my uniform is washed, it's up to me. Do you get what I'm trying to say? The most he was doing was giving me my money, weekly allowance, do you know what I mean, on a good day.
Yeah.
So I was really much like that child. I used to go to school and I used to fight everyone. If I didn't care if you're a teacher, I'll cuss you out. Like, because school was the only place that I could express my anger.
Yeah.
Because you see, I had gone through so much and I never really spoke up.
Yeah,
I never spoke up.
Yeah,
like, I
no
literally,
release. Yeah.
I was always that child that would always smile. Like, you can be telling me the most horrible news and I'll just be smiling.
Yeah.
Because I've always learned to just encourage myself that life is going to get better.
Coping mechanism.
Yeah, so it was actually in school. I think it was like in year 8 in a citizenship lesson. That was when I was taught about FGM in the UK.
Yeah.
So I remember like having the session, the lesson, and this teacher speaks about FGM, and my heart starts feeling funny, and I ask her like to excuse me, because obviously at that point it's like I knew I'd gone through BONDO, but I didn't know that BONDO was called FGM. So it was actually education that taught me what I'd gone through.
Yeah.
So I went home and I started Googling about it. And the same thing happened as well when it came to the sexual abuse. It was actually in school that I learned about sexual abuse.
I knew what it was.
That I knew that I had been subjected to sexual abuse. So once again, I excused myself, didn't speak to no one in the school, but went home and started researching.
Yeah.
And it was actually at that age that I knew that I was sexually abused.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, anyway, going back into like foster care, I had kind of always been that kind of like rowdy child in school, full of anger, whatever. I wasn't a bad kid. I was just full of anger, you know? And so there was a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but the placement, even though I think my foster carers were amazing, I found that they were a bit strict because you can imagine I'm so used to like eating chicken and chips all the time. And then this person is telling me, oh, you have to come downstairs and eat dinner. And I'm like, why? Do you know what I mean? So there was like, and then they're like, oh, you got to clean before you get your money. I'm like, who wants to do chores? So that wasn't really working like that too tough. But however, I think foster care brought a positive change in my life.
I mean, I would agree.
Yeah.
A big positive change in your life.
Yeah. Foster care brought a positive change in my life because, number one, I now had adults who cared about me. I guess number 2, I was safe. I didn't know that. But number 3, a lot of things that I was missing, I began to have.
Yeah.
I didn't have a laptop.
Yeah.
I never did homework.
Yeah.
I never had no one show up to any parents' evening. It was my foster carers that were the first people that showed up to a parents' evening in like year 9.
Yeah.
And that was the most horrible day of my life. The seats were on fire because these teachers had it for me.
Of course.
Like they were like,
I know what's going on.
They were like, oh yeah, like finally.
They've been waiting for this day.
No. I said my seat was on fire. Like what? They went in like, oh, she talks a lot. She's this. And I remember the ride back home.
Awkward.
My foster carers were like, Ross, that's all you like, yeah? But anyway, I think they had a positive impact on me because, I began to basically realize that, well, like when I have to do my homework, I have no choice. These people, it's up to you. If you don't want to do it, you got to do it. Yeah. So that was kind of my attitude.
Did you, sorry to cut you off, did you ever open up to your foster parents about your past?
So I think they were aware of the FGM.
Yeah.
But they weren't aware. And I think it wasn't me that told them about the FGM. It must have been the social workers or something, some way, somehow. But I never told them about the sexual abuse.
Okay.
Yeah, I never said nothing about the sexual abuse. Yeah. So they did put me in therapy. They put me in therapy, but even with that therapy, we spoke about FGM and I never once spoke about the abuse that I'd gone through. I think when I came in foster care, that's when I began to stop being friends with like the wrong group of people. Like, because obviously you can imagine my lifestyle that I was living. If I didn't stop being friends with certain people, I don't think I'd be here today. Yeah. So I think I began to realize that, yes, I've gone through a lot of trauma. Yes, I've gone through a lot of things and everything, whatever. But actually, if I wanted to succeed in life, it was my choice. Yeah. And I think one of the greatest gifts that my foster carer gave me was the gift of faith. Because when I came into care, for me, I had come from like a Muslim background. You know, my family are Muslims. Yeah. But my foster care, obviously, she was a Christian. And I remember like her saying, because she used to go to church, and I remember her saying to me one time that she can't leave me home. She's like, you know, I can't leave you home because I always have to get someone that will look after you. Yeah. She's like, you have to come with me. So I used to be so vexed because I used to be like, what? Like, I'm not a Christian. Like, I'm Muslim. Like, why are you bringing me? Like, what if my family find out? Yeah. But I remember like kind of being angry. I'd go to church with her, sit at the back. Like, I didn't give a heck. But I think a time came where like the preacher was preaching about Jesus, and the preacher was saying that, oh, like Jesus wants to be your friend, and you know, Jesus cares about the fatherless and the motherless. But obviously back then, because I used to be in a lot of fights and I used to think the friends I had were fake, I was like, right, like I want to be friends with Jesus because my friends are fake. Yeah. So that was kind of like how I then transitioned into Christianity, but I didn't really realize what it was. Yeah, of course. But I'm not gonna lie, I feel like that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
So
Glodi, I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for my faith and my belief in
Yeah.
God. I feel like God came into my life at the right time, because I remember opening my Bible and it's saying that although my mother and my father forsake me, that the Lord receives me. Or I'm seeing scriptures like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I didn't realize that that was the game changer that I needed. So it was that thing that I began to realize that, okay, there's somebody called God. There's somebody who says that even though he basically sees my pain, he sees me as a young girl, and he's saying that he receives me, that he cares about me. So I began to try to believe in that. And I think that was how there was kind of like a change in my mindset.
Yeah.
So I began to focus more in school. I began to make certain choices, and I began to say, it doesn't matter if I don't have anyone in my life that believes in me. God believes in me, and I believe in myself. So that was how I navigated education, went on to college, did my A-levels, and then I went on to university.
So it's an important thing that you said there, and I just want the audience to be aware that the religion you grow up in, depending on the experience you've had, is what going to determine what religion you end up with. Because you said yourself, you grew up in a Muslim family, Muslim culture. I grew up in a Christian family, Christian culture. Do you know what I mean? And you never had a good start to life. You know, your mom gave birth to you and passed you on.
Basically,
And that Passover opened doors to all sorts of
things,
abuse. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Under the Muslim religion. Do you know what I'm saying? And then family members abused you who are also Muslim. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's only right for you to see that religion as something that's not for you.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think maybe when I was younger, I definitely affiliated my abuse with the Islamic religion. But as I've gotten older and I've kind of gone to therapy and I've matured, I don't affiliate my abuse with Islam.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Because you
I
realize.
affiliate my abuse with people.
Yeah, you
because
realize.
There are people who are Christians and they're probably worse than what they can do worse than what was done to me when I'm younger. It's not the religion. It's the people.
It's the people.
And how they present and practice the religion.
And that's why religion is one of those subjects where,
it's
like you said earlier, you got scholars, they could read the same Quran and they're going to finish that Quran and they're going to believe something completely different to someone else that's read the same Quran.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
People, we are our own problems. Like,
no, it's people, it's humans. I'm telling you, and it's so funny because obviously when you go through trauma, you know, as a survivor, my heart goes out because I understand both sides. You know what I mean? It's so easy to, like, for example, I think I was saying to one of my friends that some of the things I've even experienced now, it's like if I'm not careful because of the kind of trauma I've gone through in the past, I can be one of those people that's like, I hate men. You know, men are trash. Men are this.
Why are you not like that?
I'm not like that because I know who I am. Number one, I understand that this is humanity. This is a human problem. Like there are people who are, everyone has a tendency to be bad.
Yeah.
Some of us just choose to be good.
Yeah.
By the grace of God. Number one. But number two, I found purpose.
Yeah.
I don't hold unforgiveness towards my family. I should, but I don't. Because, like I said, my faith in God has been a rock and a catalyst to who I am. So I understand that I don't have the power to change my past, but I have the power to change my future.
Yeah.
So I've learned to take accountability for myself, meaning that nothing about what I've gone through is painful. It has affected me. It continues to affect me as a girl, but that is just not good enough for it to be an excuse for me to be a rubbish human being.
Yeah.
I've made up my mind that I'm going to be who God has called me to be on this earth. Until he takes me home, I'm dedicated to living life the right way. So I've always set a standard for myself. I may not have anybody that's telling me, oh, go to uni, do this. But I'm like, no, if other people are going to university, then Isatu, you can go to uni.
Yeah.
If other people are getting good jobs, they're achieving things,
you can do
it too. If someone's doing their master's degree, you can do it too. So I don't allow my trauma to ever hinder me, because I feel like sometimes, and obviously sometimes when I say this stuff, like some survivors, you know, because everyone's on at different stages, so some of them don't want to hear this, but you never tell me that, you never see me say, oh, men are this. The men are trash, don't get me wrong, men are, like, I'm saying they are. Like, let's not get it twisted here. But why, like, what's the benefit of me walking around and saying men are trash?
Exactly, yeah.
Like, the person that hurt me was my cousin.
Yeah.
That's his business.
Yeah.
I've looked at him, I'm like, you're messed up. Like, you need help, and you're not my problem.
Have you had that conversation with him since
You know, you've
up?
asked a very good question. So around the age of 19, when I was in my first year of university, I used to do YouTube. And I remember doing a video where I was talking about the fact that I was abstaining from sex. So I remember I did a video and basically said in the video, I was like, oh, like, you know, like, I've been abstaining for like 3 years. And, you know, I was so surprised that I was abstaining from sex, because normally when you've gone through sexual abuse, they always say that there's a tendency for you to either like be promiscuous or for you to be a bit rigid or whatever. So I just made that video. My cousin that abused me, his younger brother, was subscribed to my channel. He saw the video, sent it on the immediate family group chat that we had, which was meant to be me and basically the siblings and the mum. I didn't even know at that time that it had been sent. All I know is my cousin calls me, the one that abused me, and he goes, what's your problem?
Sorry?
What's your problem?
What do you mean, what's my problem?
Why do you keep talking about the family? Why do you keep talking about Islam? Why do you keep talking about the abuse? I already had sex with you once or twice anyway.
Hey.
And that was because I was going through some stuff.
Hey.
So stop speaking about it.
He's cheeky. Hey, call his name out right now. What is his full name? We need pictures, full name. This man needs to stand trial. Honestly, today is Judgment Day.
Listen, Judgment Day here on earth. Yeah. He said, what's your problem? Why do you keep talking about the abuse? I only had sex with you once or twice anyway. Yeah. And that was because I was going through some stuff. Stop speaking about it. I want to see you. And
I want to see you as well.
That was when I was in my foster carer's house in Greenwich. And I remember being on the call with him, and God being so good. My foster carer was downstairs and she was making dinner for me. This was my second foster carer, because I moved foster placements when I was like 16. She called me for dinner and I just said to him, oh, I have to go. You know, I remember getting up the floor because I was rocking myself back. Like, I was on the floor and I was basically soothing myself as I was having this phone call. So obviously my foster care is calling me for dinner. I wipe my tears. I come downstairs and I'm in the kitchen. She's like, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. In my head, what I wanted to do was I just wanted to like remove all my clothes and I wanted to go outside on the street and just roll on the floor. Yeah. Because this is the person who has abused me, who I've seen as a brother, who I've seen as a, you know, person who would buy me stuff. And this person at the age of 19, mind you, he abused me at the age of 8. Yeah. At the age of 19, where he had the opportunity to apologize. Where he had the audacity. He said to me, what's your problem? I already had sex with you. So that was the moment I made up my mind. Because I realized, because what happened after that is that obviously the family spoke about it. I left the group chat. My auntie messaged me on WhatsApp and said, whatever my son has done to you, forgive him. Family is family.
So she knew?
No one else ever. That was it.
She knew?
So I guess she must have known from the, obviously, video. They must have spoken about it. She just said, whatever my son has done to you, forgive him.
And this is the problem.
No one ever spoke to me about that abuse again. Everybody, even the cousin who is the girl, everybody, like, quiet.
This is the problem. That right there is the problem with our culture, with our continent, with our people, with our race.
Yeah.
Put everything under the carpet.
Yeah.
That's the pattern.
Yeah, not even how are you, not even sorry. Literally, all she ever said to me was, whatever my son has done to you, forgive him. Family is family. They never said anything. It was only until, so that was probably 2018. It was probably only until 2022 when I published my first book, and I titled it The Power of Perseverance and Resilience, Navigating Foster Care Abuse and Abandonment. That when they saw the title of the book, mind you, they ain't spoken, my auntie ain't spoken to me for years. All of a sudden now, oh, why does she want to publish a book? I don't want my son to get in trouble because he can still be criminalized.
No, your son will pay. Your son, this is crazy.
this is what, but Glodi, what I'm sharing with you is what survivors are going through.
Yeah.
It is their family members that wish them ill. Like, because my family, they're so convinced that I'm in the wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know that all these years, even up to now, I don't have a relationship with them?
Yeah.
Because the choice is basically, you keep talking about the family, you keep saying all this stuff, that's your business.
Yeah.
You're the one that's decided that we weren't there for you.
Yeah.
But the truth stands.
Yeah.
I came into foster care, lost contact with you guys.
Yeah.
The truth stands. Yeah, you guys might be my aunties or not. You're not my father, nor are you my mother.
Yeah.
That's a pain that I have every right to feel that pain.
Of course you do.
I have every right to feel the fact that when I came into foster care, you guys were not there because it's foster care that raised me. Because Glodi, you've had so many people as guests on your show. You know how tough life can be.
Yeah, 100.
You know how my life could have, as a young girl who's got no father, no mother, gone through so much trauma. You know what path I could have gone down.
100%.
It's only God that just helped me to stay the path that I've been on. So, but my family don't want to accept accountability. Just to say we are sorry. We did. They don't want to. It's you're always making. It's now here and there. I have one auntie that will say, "Oh, sorry about that," but it's like because of the fact that I've decided that listen, I'm not gonna stop talking about this abuse because to them the solution to me to like the family being at peace or me
It's
being
silence.
included in the family is basically this ultimatum of you stop talking about it and we will love you. You keep talking about it, you go do life alone. And what they always say to me is, one day you will need us and you will know what family is. And in my head, I'm like, glory to God. Glory to God that I'll never need you guys.
100.
And even if I needed you, glory to God. Because to me, it's like the fact that you can see a girl struggle, no father, no mother.
Yeah.
All these years, you've still seen her as a villain. How does that make sense? That the person who's been the child and is actually gone through the trauma. Sometimes I speak to them and I say, "Oh, I nearly killed myself." You don't, because I did. They don't get it because they always want to protect the image. So my heart, I always say this, my heart hasn't just been broken by my sexual abuse or my FGM. My heart has been broken by the behavior of how people dealt with the magnitude of the trauma I've gone through. When you know that I've been abused, when you know that what I'm saying, that I'm not lying, but you turn around and still withdraw yourself from me because you want to punish me for speaking out and saying this is what happened to me. So I've had to be strong.
Yeah.
I have no choice but to be strong.
Yeah.
I have no choice but to be a friend to myself.
Yeah.
So I've seen the world and I recognize that the world is an ugly place. I recognize that whether Muslims, Christians, whatever it is, sometimes you can share your trauma as much as you want. People will see you being in need and they will turn their eyes on you.
Yeah.
They'll turn their backs on you. I've seen all of it, but I've decided within myself as a girl and as a woman that none of these things are ever going to faze me. It hurts, it's painful, and I wish it was different. But I've said to myself, Isatu, you have to keep going.
You do.
You just have to, you don't know where it's going to take you because that's the thing. I've never known where all of these things were ever going to take me. But all I've ever done is put my head down and just focus to say, listen, if you have to go to school, you go to school. You go college, you go college. You go uni, go uni. I've just said, do it. You don't know where it's going to take you, but do it. But I've had to let go and accept that I probably will never have biological family. And it hurts because, of course, who doesn't? And this is what I always say to them. I'm like, who doesn't want to have their family? Like, do you think I want to go through life and not want to have a family? Like, now that I'm even growing, and then it's like when I have relationships and someone's thinking about marriage and all these things, I'm thinking, how can anyone even marry me? The kind of complex background I come from, how can that happen? But at the same time, I realize that now, like, my story matters. And if I want to make sure that this cycle doesn't continue, I need to break it, even if that means that I have to then lose what it means to have family. Because I've learned that I don't have family in my real family, and I certainly don't have family in any other place. Do you know what I mean? No matter how much I have convinced myself over the years that, being part of certain communities and thought, they're not. Lady, when you're a survivor, you have to not put your hope in people.
100.
There are good people who have helped me along the ways. There are practitioners that have helped me along the ways. There are teachers, mentors, strangers that have helped me. But I'll tell you, you cannot live your life thinking that someone else is going to be a solution. Sometimes you just have to make a decision that you want to keep going in life. And that's what I've done. And I feel like sometimes certain survivors don't make that decision. They think that because they've gone through so much trauma, and it's hard, obviously, when you're going through the trauma, but they think because they've gone through that people will see that and have mercy on them. The world is a ruthless place.
Very
Sorry
ruthless.
to say, but even as much as sad as my story is, sometimes certain people don't give a heck about my story.
Yeah.
Like I tell myself sometimes that, girl, your story's sad. Yeah, it's sad, but guess what? You gotta keep jogging, keep it stepping, because there's no excuse.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's as real as we have to get.
Yeah, it's true.
Do you know what I mean?
It's sad, but it's true.
Yeah, it's sad, but it's true.
Upon everything that you've been through, you're a very smart girl.
Oh, thank you.
Like, I can hear it when you speak, when you talk. You know, you sound very educated. Where has that come from?
Well, first of all, I've never considered myself smart. Even when I was in school, I was always in bottom set.
Yeah.
Do you know my English teacher in school told me when I was doing my English GCSE, she was like, oh, Isatu, like, I would be surprised if you passed your GCSEs with a D.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, whatever. But I've never been the smartest, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But I've always been a trier. That's the difference between me and certain people. I've always been a trier.
Yeah.
I could be as dumb as they.
Yeah.
But listen, once
I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up.
Bro, I'm like, listen, for as long as we're all here, we're going to make it through. So I've been a trier. Never been the smartest, never been the top set, nothing. But always been willing to do well.
Willing to learn.
To put my best foot forward. So I would say in terms of the core, I think it all comes back to the mindset. Like I said to you, the moment I realized that as a man thinking for his heart, so is he. The moment I realized that it's not about what others say about you, it's what you say about yourself.
Yeah.
I realized, you have no excuse. So even when it comes to like education, like I said, I've had to try my way through. If I fail, I revise harder. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like right now, I was telling you I'm working full time and I'm studying my master's degree. It's bloody tough. At this point, I feel like it's like somebody's trying to master someone. It's either the master is mastering me or I'm going to because I'm like, what is going on here? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't even feel like I can do it. Like, I don't even feel capable of doing the masters. But at the same time, I'm like, girl, if you're able to get into UCL, which is one of the top 10 global universities in the world, then you have to believe in yourself. You have no choice but to try your best.
That's a very good
So right now, I'm trying. I don't know if I'm going to make it till September, but we just have to try, innit? Yeah.
University is often seen as freedom. You know, when people go to uni, they feel like, I'm free now. I can do what I want. You know, my parents can't chat to me. I'm of age.
Yeah.
What did it represent for you?
A difficult transition. When I remember when I was going to uni, I did so well in my A-levels, and I remember social services sent a van to come and pick me up because obviously I didn't have. And I remember thinking that my foster care was going to come with me, but I remember getting to this van with this stranger. Yeah. And then my foster care was like, bye. And I was like, oh, like, are you not coming? She's like, oh, no, she's not coming because obviously I was going to Colchester. Yeah. I remember being on that ride. Imagine you've worked so hard. You've done your A-levels, you know. I haven't got an award in my English language and literature, A-levels, whatever. And then I remember going on campus now and then seeing everyone with their parents, you know, bringing their bags and everything. And I just remember like this guy, this driver, you know, just taking my bags and stuff, helped me with my stuff in my room. Yeah. And he turned on and he goes, good luck. And he left, and I remember my door was open, and one of my flatmates like walked past, and obviously like I think it was a he or she, I can't remember, but they had like their mom, their dad, sister, whatever. And I remember them, you know when you move in, you open the door, everyone says hi, and I remember them saying hi to me, oh, how are you? Da, da, da. But I remember the moment they walked past, like I went and I shut the door, and I went on my knees and I cried.
What was you crying?
I cried because here I am. I've worked so hard in my A-levels. And I had no one with me. Like, legit, like, I came to uni, not because I even knew what uni represented, but just because I just thought, oh, like, people are going uni, like, let me try and go. But I've worked so hard, and I didn't have anyone with me. And just seeing my flatmate walk past with, like, her family, it hit me. And I remember going out on my knees, and I remember praying. I said, God, I don't have what other people have. But I'm like, but the fact that you brought me here, I want to commit the rest of this journey to you.
Yeah.
And that's how I've always been, like learning to be content
Mm-hmm.
with what I don't have. And every time I share this story, it always gets me emotional because I know how it pains me, you know, during that time. But once I did that prayer, I just left the time of my uni to God. So I made sure, and I think what was good for me was from finishing A levels, going into uni.
Yeah.
That's kind of when I started taking my like religion serious a bit.
Yeah.
So I think because of that, I kind of made that choice. I'm not going to go clubbing. I'm not going to do sex and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Which, to be fair, for a couple of years it worked. And then I kind of fell when it came with the area of like the sex and stuff. But I never stepped my foot back in the club.
Yeah.
I remember that time I even I was in a relationship with someone, and because I wanted to take my faith serious, I literally ended the relationship. So I think because I'd made that transition just before uni, it was kind of it was a good safety net for me.
Yeah.
Because I made sure because I know myself, right? Because I've been in the world, like do you know what I mean? So I kind of knew that, listen, if you say you're going to come to uni to do well, you've got to make sure you make the right choices. So I was very adamant in ensuring that I go to the religious side rather than going to the enjoyment side.
Yeah.
And I think it helped me for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, when I finished uni, I ended up being homeless, you know, which was difficult because once again, imagine working so hard for 4 years, giving it your all, and then your personal advisor doesn't do what they need to do, and they come and tell you that they're leaving.
How did you end up being homeless? Yeah.
So basically, when I was in foster care, I had a certain situation with one of my foster brothers, who was also looked after by the same local authority.
Yeah.
So obviously, even though I was looked after by a particular local authority, they had always placed me to stay somewhere else in a completely different area.
Yeah.
So obviously, when it was time for me to find somewhere to stay, I said to my personal advisor, I know that this local authority is the one that's like responsible for me, but however, they've always placed me on this side of the city. I would rather stay here. Furthermore, that foster brother stays under this local authority. I don't want to be in any area close to this person, right? Oh, don't worry. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to help you with the application. Blah, 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 blah. Mind you, let me say this. Mind you, I was in my final year of uni during COVID. I turned 21 in March in 2020. I was staying in a semi-independent accommodation at the time. And I had told the people that, I want to do my final year in my semi-independent accommodation in London.
Yeah.
Do you know that social services waited until end of September or when it was about to go into October to contact me and say, you have to move out of the semi-independent?
Why though?
Mind you, I was about to start uni in a few weeks. Oh, because you're 21. And I said, but I turned 21 in March.
Yeah.
COVID, I was suffering. It was even during COVID that I put on weight because I was depressed.
Yeah.
You lot didn't contact me, no nothing, didn't check up on me, no nothing. You wait until 2-3 weeks before I was meant to go back to finish my final year of uni to tell me that I have to move out. That I had no choice.
Yeah, that's
so
wicked.
They were now meant to help me to get a place, but obviously it was too last minute. So I contacted my uni and they were like, okay, cool, you can come and do your final year, you know, on campus. So that was how I now moved. But the promise was, but don't worry. Once you're done with your final year, just before you're done, everything is sorted out. You just have to do da-da-da. And then literally the PA goes like in June and I finish uni in like July or something. So now I'm begging, now I'm calling them, I'm emailing the manager for my PA, asking them, can you guys send a van that could come and pick me up? And this manager is telling me, do you not have money?
Oh.
Can you not get trained? Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I don't have family, I don't have nothing. They just left me for dead, just like that.
And that's a negative thing to socials because it's like once you hit a certain age, they're just like, yeah, in a bit, we're done.
Exactly.
Not knowing that you've relied on their support this whole time, especially coming from
that they even give
exactly, but especially coming from the background that you've come from, you know, for them to just base everything on age, I think that's ridiculous.
Well, you know, one thing I always say to people, I was like, social services punish the good kids. Like, I'm one of the good ones.
Yeah.
But social service will punish you.
Yeah.
Because I always felt like it's almost like if you're not someone that is in a dire situation where you're like completely in need of support all the time or you're at risk of this, they don't give you attention. So I'm one of those people that have just kind of slipped through the cracks. I could have killed myself. They wouldn't have known. Because I didn't even have from when I probably turned like 19 or something, I never had a PA.
Yeah.
I had it by on paper.
Yeah.
No one ever checked up on
Yeah.
me. And they're lucky I'm not saying what the local authority is. And the only reason why I'm not saying it is because of the kind of person I am.
Yeah.
But it's rubbish.
You're more than welcome to say it. GloTalks, we're gonna put everyone on the table.
Everyone, listen. Everyone's getting judged here. But yeah,
100%.
it's not nice. It's like the good kids like me who are focused. Because how can you, as a manager, be telling me, can you not get trained? Can you, even people who have parents, their parents will not tell them to get trained when they're moving out of uni.
Yeah.
Really, that's what they did to me. They left me. And God being so good, I reached out to one of my acquaintances and I was just begging people.
Yeah.
I was begging people. And she just said to me, Isatu, when you were in first year of uni, you didn't even know me. I asked you for money and you gave me money. She was like, I want to pay you back. And at that time, the guy she was dating had like a moving van.
Mm-hmm.
So she sent her boyfriend to come all the way.
Oh, nice.
Picked me up, took me back to London. I took all my stuff to one of my friend's house. Whilst I was sleeping in another friend's house, whilst another friend was responsible for my cooking. So it was literally like, because I had been so blessed to have amazing friends who were like sisters. Some of them I've known since primary school.
Yeah.
I was sleep in one person's house. All my stuff is in another friend's house, and someone else will be giving me money every week, £10. So that was how I was then basically made homeless, because they didn't provide for me the space. They just left me. So I had to go through the whole homeless process. And that was when I was depressed.
Yeah.
And I honestly wanted to end it all. Like, I was at a place where, because remember I told you that I stopped crying. So when I was younger and when I got caught and stuff, I realized my tears didn't matter. So Glodi, like, not that I didn't cry over the years, I'm sure I did, but I never allowed myself to cry about the pain I'd gone through.
Yeah.
I never cried about my mom. I never cried about my dad. I never cried about my abuse. I never cried about FGM.
Yeah.
Not because I didn't want to, but because I believed in myself that if the day that I'll cry would have to be a time when I'm safe.
Yeah.
Because what I told myself was, I said to you, you have to be strong for your mom and you have to be strong for yourself.
Yeah.
So even when I was in school, no one really knew what I was carrying. I carried myself up until the end of uni. When I was now homeless, that was when I had my first mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Where I said to myself, I cannot do this.
Yeah. Being homeless isn't easy.
I said I couldn't do it because I'm being introduced to universal credit. I don't have food. I don't have money. And I'm like, I cannot, I was literally like, I want to end it all. And you know what? That was a time where I remember literally taking my phone and I was researching what is the closest river to me. And that time, as much as my faith has always been, strength, and my friends had been there, no one could take me out of where I was at.
Yeah.
Because I remember saying to myself that if anyone hears your story and what you've endured all these years, they would understand why you want to take your own life. But in that time, I had to allow myself to grieve.
Yeah.
Because I was grieving the idea of, you're not even woman enough.
Yeah.
What man's ever going to want you?
Yeah.
You don't have a clip.
Yeah.
You've been sexually abused.
Yeah.
You don't have a father. You don't have a mother. Don't know anyone from your mother's family. You're just a rejected girl. And my head, I was like, God, it was too much.
I can imagine it being too much, and I'm happy that you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And that you're here today, because your story holds such power that the viewers are gonna watch this and really, understand where you've come from. And people are gonna hear this and be like, I'm going through this now. Why am I silent? Why am I still letting it affect me? Why am I not speaking up about it?
Yeah.
Everyone has a purpose, and your purpose is to share your story, to live your life and be an advocate of your own life.
Yeah. And during that time, I think one of the ways I tried to get myself out of it was, I said, like you said, you mentioned purpose. I was like, I have to live a life of purpose now.
Yeah.
That the journey I'm about to live cannot be the same thing when I was suppressing my trauma and my pain. Now I have to feel everything. I have to grieve everything at once. It was a lot, but that was when I sought help from an FGM clinic. So there are FGM clinics, by the way, that helps survivors.
Yeah.
So they help you with sometimes reconstruction surgery, which I wanted to do, but I've decided not to do it because it's not even free in the UK. And also they offer you mental health support, so counseling. So I went to therapy for 6 weeks, and honestly, Glodi, that therapy changed my life.
So there's FGM clinics
that
that
can offer you therapy. Yeah,
they
that's
offer
survivors can go
therapy,
to. Yeah.
but they also can recreate your clitoris.
So it's called reconstruction surgery. So it's not them per se, but it's like it's a surgery that is possible
Yeah.
that survivors can get. So I know somebody who got hers done in Germany.
Yeah.
But you have to pay for it. It's not free in the UK. Yeah, it's not free in the UK. Yeah, so we do have like survivors of FGM can get reconstruction surgery if that's what you want.
Yeah.
Like I said, I wanted to get it.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I've decided not to get the reconstruction surgery.
Is there a particular reason why?
Not because of the money, but because I think part of the healing journey that I've gone through, I've made amends? I've
Yeah.
made amends with what I've gone through.
Yeah.
Like, I'm no longer ashamed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not ashamed that I've been cut. Like, I actually believe that if God permits me to get married in the future, like, I feel like my partner would be fine with that.
Yeah.
Like, and even if my partner isn't fine with it, I'm fine with it. So I'm okay with myself.
Yeah.
I've accepted myself. I'm no longer in denial. I'm no longer ashamed. So because of that, I don't think I need the reconstruction surgery.
Yeah.
Well, some people get it for different reasons. I've
Yeah.
chosen not to. Yeah.
How do you heal from all of this?
You heal by feeling.
Mm.
You heal by feeling, but you have to be careful how you heal as well and
Yeah.
what you share when you're going through healing. Everyone heals differently. There's no particular way, but for me, I definitely healed through faith, but I also healed through therapy. Like I said, I was in therapy when I was in secondary school.
Yeah.
I was in therapy when I was in uni. I stopped for a little bit. I think maybe that transition. And then when I finished uni, I was in therapy, and I've been in therapy ever since.
Mhm.
So I'm a big advocate for therapy.
Yeah.
Only because I've seen how my therapy has helped me to go back, like psychodynamic, right? To go back and look at my past. So, for example, like some of the sessions I've had over the years, my therapist will ask me, how did you feel when you were the only girl that was left in that room and that lady was coming to get you? Imagine, as big as I am now, as a big girl, I'll start crying.
Yeah.
Because that little girl, that my inner child who felt abandoned, not supported, alone, rejected, that I was still carrying those emotions all these years.
Yeah, of course.
So therapy has allowed me to cry, to feel, to go back to these things, because only when you're able to feel these things, confront your emotions, confront your trauma, then are you able to make a decision to move forward. You can't move forward without feeling it first.
Yeah.
And feeling it can feel so crazy. It's painful.
Has your understanding of womanhood changed over time?
In what sense?
In terms of like the way you connect your body with your mind and comparing yourself with other women as well.
Yeah.
Feeling like you said earlier, feeling like not much of a woman,
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I'm definitely not where I was.
Yeah.
I think I've grown into the woman that is confident and is beginning to love herself. But I still think that I do have moments that I wish things were different.
Yeah.
I have moments that I wish that my life story wasn't as traumatic as it is. And so I may compare myself to, perhaps the girl who didn't go through these things, who doesn't, have to share, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's not necessarily in a bad way, because it doesn't affect me in that way. Like it affects me, but it's not in a way where it's like, oh my gosh, my life, it's just more so like, of course everybody would wish for something better,
100, yeah.
So I have grieved what I am not, but it doesn't mean that I'm any less than a woman. I am more than capable, and so, yeah, but it's a hard place to get to, because you have to grieve what you think or what society tells you makes you a woman,
How has men in your past relationships reacted
to like just my story in general?
Just your story and also your body.
I've had the interesting, for the most part, I think I've been privileged. I've had amazing partners in the past.
Yeah.
But I guess not amazing enough, because sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
No, but, all jokes aside, I've had amazing partners in the past who have been quite, sensitive and have just, been there. But however, I would say that I've also had situations when I got much older where like I would share like a tiny bit of my story, and it's like I remember someone just telling me like, you're a very nice girl, but that's quite a lot for me.
Mm.
And you know what? I hear it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Fair enough. Do you know what I mean? Even though it sucked, though, obviously, as a
Mhm.
girl, it's like your story, someone, do you know what I mean? But do you know what it is? I've learned that it's better for a guy to just say, actually, Isatu, I'm not really like, that's a lot. You've gone through a lot. And
Yeah.
I think I prefer that than someone that wouldn't do that. Because I think what I used to do before was I used to hide my story.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to tell guys that I'd been subjected to FGM. I didn't want to tell them I didn't have my parents. And, you know, especially the abuse with
Yeah.
a cousin,
Yeah.
it can be so embarrassing
Yeah.
for a girl. And men can be so weird when it comes to that.
Mhm.
But I've learned that if a guy cannot accept who Isatu is with everything I've gone through, then that's not the right person for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I just love hearing you speak, you know, because it's like in one breath, you're like battling with what you've gone through in the past, but then in the other, you've healed and you've accepted it,
Yeah.
you know, and you're now confidently talking about it,
Yeah.
which takes a lot in itself.
It takes a lot to speak. It takes, but this is, I think, one of the greatest things that will free survivors from the shackles of, you know, not speaking is shame.
Mm.
Like, and also you have to be courageous to tell your story.
Yeah.
Glodi, a lot of people, not just survivors, a lot of people are cowards in life.
Yeah.
They're cowards. They're
100.
afraid of what people will say.
What
They're
people
afraid of
think.
life. They're
Yeah.
just, you know, and for me, I'm like, listen, if you want to break barriers in your life and you want to be somebody in life, you've got to not be ashamed of what other people will say. You do things and you fail, it doesn't mean you stop. So I've died completely to this thing of validation from people. If you don't validate me, listen, I validate myself. Like, I believe in myself because God believes in me. And I think that should be enough for us as people. But a lot of us are just cowards.
Yeah.
We're afraid of the pain that comes with losing family, for example. But I've died to that. I've lost it all, Glodi.
Yeah.
Glodi, my virginity was taken at the age of 8. When girls are talking about virginity and sex and this, I'm not involved in that because mine was taken from me. How do you make sense of that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
100.
And at one point when I was young, I even used to lie that I was a virgin because I didn't count how my virginity was taken away from me as something that was correct.
Yeah, of course. You wouldn't.
But it took a lot of healing and therapy for me to accept that actually that happened. And it's painful because why do I have to go through that? Why is my life like that? You know? So these things are real, but it's not about being delusional. It's about allowing yourself to feel and finding the strength to keep going. So I always tell people that you have to find that thing that keeps you grounded.
Yeah.
I'm not an advocate for everyone to be a Christian or be religious. Of course, I believe you should believe in God. If
Find your
you know,
purpose.
but find something. You don't have to be religious. But listen, life is tough out here. If you don't have a sense of self or sense of identity, really, life is going to shut you down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've written 2 books.
Yep.
What made you ready to share this publicly?
First book, poor grammar. Haven't even edited it yet. Wrote it because that was when I was homeless and I was grieving everything I was going through. So I just wanted to write so that I could go back to what I had gone through.
Yeah.
So for example, it took me like 3 months to write about the fact that I was separated from my mom at the age of 5 because I had never ever cried about it.
Yeah.
So that first book was just me trying to write about something, you know. Like I said, grammar is poor. But then my second book that came out last year, which is there. So yeah, my second book, titled Courage, The Secret to Breaking Barriers and Limitations. I wrote this last year.
Just put it up for the camera to see.
Up for the camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's on Amazon. So yeah, I wrote this book last year along with 3 journals. I published them all at once.
Yeah.
And Courage, The Secret to Breaking Barriers, what it basically talks about is the fact that if you want to break barriers in your life as a survivor or as an individual, you have to be courageous. So courage is the ability to do something that frightens you. So what I do is I basically break down courage. Like, for example, the C in courage stands for like can do, the O in courage like optimistic, the U in courage being unique, the R encourage not being afraid to take what's it called, responsibility, or certain things. The A encourage stands for accountability, which is the fact that in life as an individual, whether you're a perpetrator or whoever you are, you have to be able to take accountability for everything you do in life, whether it's good or it's bad. The G encourage, having gratitude, and the E encourage understanding that extraordinary people do extraordinary things. But to be extraordinary means you have to be extra, beyond ordinary. So you have to push yourself. If you don't do that, barriers and limitations don't break. So I remember when I wanted, and what pushed me to do this, because when I wanted to do my master's degree, I didn't feel like I was capable. I didn't think I could get into a top 10 global university, but I had to be courageous to try. And I did, and I got in. So that barrier has been broken because I was courageous. So sometimes that is the secret to breaking barriers. It's not having things, it's not having whatever, it's just being courageous to do it. And I break it down, obviously it's quite like Christian based, like it is. I use a lot of like reference to like David and Goliath in the Bible. It's if you want a copy, you can keep that.
Oh really?
Yeah, it has makeup on it and inside though, but yeah, you
no,
can
it's
keep
a very well put together book. It looks like just the type of book you'll find in the library or anywhere else. Is properly well put together. I'll read the back for the audience. Ashhatu Momoh shares her deeply personal journey of resilience, faith, and unstoppable courage. Growing up without both parents and raised in foster care, Ashhatu survived female genital mutilation at the age of 6 and endured sexual abuse by family members at 7. But her story does not end in pain. In Courage, the secret to breaking barriers and limitations, Ashhatu reveals how she turned unimaginable adversity into strength through the power of faith, a positive mindset, and an unshakable belief in purpose. Brilliant book.
Designed that,
No, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
So Transformation Talk is a CIC to which you created.
Yeah.
When did you realize that wasn't just a passion project, but a calling?
I think it was when I was homeless. So I initially started Transformation Talk in uni.
Yeah.
It was just a talk. But I kind of stopped it when things got a bit tough at university. But when I was then homeless and I realized I was stuck and I needed something that was going to get me out, I decided to do a GoFundMe for orphans and care leavers in Ghana. So I raised money and I was able to basically travel and, hosted like a fun day, donated food, everything for them.
Yeah.
That was when I realized that there were other people, young kids, who are as fatherless and motherless as me.
Yeah.
Who are probably going through worse than me. So I think after that trip, I think that was in 2023, I came back and I decided that I said to you have to build something, because obviously sometimes the reason why I tend to not want to build these things is because everything I've shared with you about my story is quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm still very much carrying it.
Yeah.
Like I'm still looking after myself. So I don't have the ability to, do you know what I mean? But I decided that I wanted Transformation Talk to be something that could help survivors. And so I made it a CIC in 2025. And so what we do is we basically host workshops and we do events, but mostly workshops for survivors, focus on like mindset or like overcoming trauma, like FGM workshops. We do trainings, for example, with local councils, on FGM and stuff like that. I do talks. So for example, even like this week coming, I'm going to be at King's College London, the university, and I'm going to be sharing my story. So we try to make like a safe space for people to come and just kind of like listen, heal, do affirmations. We have booklets and stuff, work our way through the different mindsets. So recently I delivered like a goals and inspiration mindset workshop. Yeah, so that's what we do.
Do you get a lot of women who's gone through FGM approach you?
Not particularly a lot of women, but I've got women where I've gone to do talks where people who are in the room are survivors, but maybe I've never disclosed it. So sometimes that happens. Or when I do webinars, so for example, I did the FGM webinar earlier this month, and someone sent me some long paragraph of how they've never been able to tell anyone that they've gone through FGM because they're so ashamed. So I do get a few women who are able to like reach out to me and express that, you know, they've gone through this and that they can't talk about it with anyone else.
Powerful.
Yeah, which is really good. Like, I'm glad that me being able to share my story can allow someone else to know that they can also do the same. But I also always advise people that don't be in a rush, especially in this social media age. You would think with the way I've spoken today, you would think that I'm somebody who is always sharing my story. Nah, it's taken me years to get to this place. And every time I share it, I reveal certain bits that I have not revealed before. And I think sometimes we see in social media where people have gone through something traumatic, whether they've been sexually assaulted, and the first thing, they're quick to come on social media. No judgment, because everyone deals with things differently. But as somebody who knows how horrible life can be and how people can be on the internet, I don't advise survivors. I always tell them, take your time, because no one's going to applaud you for telling your story. People might there's a few kind people, but there's more horrible people than there are kind people. Make sure that if you're telling your story, that you're telling it for yourself, because your story is your power, and nobody can take that power from you. But if you rush to come on social media to share something you haven't healed from, what you're doing is you're giving the power to the perpetrators. You're giving your power to people who will come and belittle what you've gone through, and that, if you're not careful, can lead you into a deeper place of isolation and pain. So I don't, you know, because sometimes people, oh my gosh, you're so strong, you tell your story. I'm like, bro, it's taken me. At the age of 7, I had to hold on to my pain until 21, when I was able to say, hey, my cousin abused me.
And how old are you now?
26.
Still very young.
Yeah, I guess.
You set up a GoFundMe account for care leavers. How did that make you feel?
Do you know what? Saying it made me feel good is probably not even the right word. I think it made me feel seen. It made me recognize that as much as I thought that, oh, the little £3,000 that I raised wasn't a lot of money, but it was. People came and gave, and it had a great impact in the lives of the orphans and care leavers in Ghana. So it was purposeful for me. It showed me that I have been called to also be somebody for the people that I've never had. You know, because I know what it feels like to not have, you know.
What are frontline workers often missing when it comes to supporting survivors?
Well, there's a lot of things that they tend to miss, but I think sometimes, I don't know what the right term is. I feel like sometimes like survivors go to these workers and some of them know, but some of them don't know. I think there's this idea that, especially in the case of FGM, there's so much sensitivity that it has to be dealt with, you know? And I feel like sometimes people let survivors down, especially the workers, they let survivors down at crucial times. Sometimes, like, let's say someone goes and they get the referral, but then there's not that follow through, or they get let down, you know, along the way kind of thing. I wish that should change, by the way.
What does resilience mean to you now?
Resilience to me is the ability to bounce back no matter what.
I like that.
No matter what.
If the younger version of you could sit in this room today, what would you say to her?
If the younger version of me could sit in this room today, I would tell her that everything is going to be okay, that she's a very strong girl, that her tears do matter, and that life will work out for her, no matter what.
I want to say thank you for coming on to GloTalks today. Let the people know where they can find you, where they can hear your story more in depth.
So definitely Transformation Talk. So that's literally at Transformation Talk on Instagram, or you can search up transformationtalk.co.uk on our website. That's where you can find me. Unfortunately, that's where we're only active at the moment. I would give my personal accounts, but I don't actually do much on my personal account, you know. I need to work on that.
What's that, like Instagram, TikTok?
Like my Instagram is Isatu Momoh _, but my account is private. My TikTok is Isatu with like 3 U's. And my page is just me being funny. Like you wouldn't even think that I do the stuff that I do on my pages, which I need to work on, by the way, my branding. But so follow me on TikTok, Isatu with like 3 U's, and Instagram, Isatu Momoh _. But mostly follow Transformation Talk. That's where we're public.
I mean, you're 26 years old. You've been through a lot. You're working, you're building, you know, and you're still understanding your story for yourself. You know, I'm sure there's still a lot of gaps or questions you don't understand. Over time, you're going to understand a little bit about yourself each time, you know, and it's amazing that you can come on here today and talk about such a traumatizing experience, but share it in a way that's going to help other people. So I'd like to say thank you, Ashhatu, for coming on to GloTalks today.
Thank you.
And
thank you for having me.
no problem at all. You know, GloTalks is a platform for stories like yours, for voices like yours. So I hope this episode welcomes more people to come on. And yeah, it's Judgment Day.
You're going to get judged.
Yeah, no secrets here. Today's conversation was heavy but necessary. Female genital mutilation is not culture. It is not religion. It is not protection. It is a human rights violation affecting over 230 million women and girls globally, including thousands here in the UK. Ashhatu's story reminds us that survival is only the beginning. Healing, education, and advocacy are how cycles are broken. If you are watching this and you have experienced FGM, abuse, or any form of trauma, please know you are not alone. There are safe spaces, there are organizations, and there are people who will listen. We've linked transformation talk and support resources below. Silence protects harm, conversation protects people. Thank you for watching. Until next time, have a good day.